October 1st and 2nd?
Yeah, so that's for day 3 and day 4. But we can talk more about
Oh,
some
okay, okay.
tournaments after. So, hello everyone.
Yeah.
Welcome to this week's Masterclass. I'm still Upside Max, and we are today going to be talking about playing your strongest board. So, as usual, if you have any questions pertaining to the specific slide, then feel free to unmute and ask. If not, leave the big questions at the end, and then we can have any discussion about anything. Okay, let's get straight into it. So playing your strongest board, a couple of the topics we're going to talk about today. So we're going to have a quick intro into playing your strongest board, and then the next topics are really simple. We're just going to be talking about maximizing your units, items, and augments, because those 3 factors are going to be determining whether or not your board is strong or not. Here we go. Introduction to playing your strongest board. Let's get it. Okay, so a quick little definition. It's a combination of optimal units, items, augments, and positioning to create your strongest possible board at the current time. So this part is pretty important. Strongest possible board at the current time. In TFT, you're going to be thrown like a million different paths and decisions. So you're going to be given like plenty of different units. Those units can go in different positions. You're going to be given items. You can make specific different items, put those items on specific different units, stack them, separate them, spread them out. So you're going to have a million decisions, right? So being able to use all of these factors, so that's like units, items, augments, and positioning, putting them together in the most optimal way possible is what defines or is what helps you make the strong board that we were talking about. So using the tools you're given, making them the most effective they can be. And you might be thinking, well, hopefully everyone knows, but strong board, pretty obviously, they kill units, which means you win, or you save HP even if you lose. So playing a strong board is super important, and we're going to be going more into depth of how to formulate one and how to maintain one. Okay, here we go. So the first part is units, maximizing your unit values, and then we're going to talk about items and augments. So units. There's 2 main ways to play your strongest board through units, and that is combination of them and positioning. Combination means like traits, right? Traits or even just like a solid team foundation. So like frontline, backline, right? Combination of frontline units, combination of backline units. You could even go more in depth and do like have damage versus tanks. So like these are all different types of combinations of units that you could put together to make a strong board. And also positioning. Positioning is really important, and we're going to go on to the next slide with some examples. So here we go. At the top here, we're just going to explain these real quick. So you 100% need a mix of damage and frontline tanks, right? Damage, obviously, they're going to be killing units. Frontline tanks, they're going to be stalling for, or frontline slash tanks, will be stalling for your damage carry. So you definitely need damage, and you need some sort of frontline slash tank to help your damage do, or your carry do damage. A couple priorities. So frontline tanks, they need to be aggroed first. This is a must. There's no point of having frontliner tanks if your damage is hit first, and then they're just kind of there. So think assassins, right? If you get assassined and all your damage is dead in 2 seconds, then your tanks are just kind of there, just hanging out, slowly dying from all the damage. So frontline tanks 100% need to be aggroed first, and then damage needs to be aggroed last. So these are some basic rules that everyone should follow, and I'm sure all of you are already following. And let's get into more about the combination and positioning based off of this patch. So what we're going to do, we're going to show a series of examples. It'd be great if maybe one example per person, you just take a look, explain what's going on in the board, what traits we have, and the most important part, identify the damage. Here we go. Okay, we have a very, very cool board here. Very, very strong right now in this current patch. And can we identify any tanks? Do we have damage? Do we have... Actually, that's about it. So does anyone have any idea here?
This looks like a nuts opener
Okay, why is it nuts?
because Ezreal is like an insane early carry, and you can slam like a lot of different carry items, or like Quinsus or Archangels, and they'll carry like really hard early. Plus the
Okay,
combination of Twitch gives them the extra attack speed. Well, it gives everyone extra attack speed plus swift shot.
okay,
And then Malphite and Jax are insane like early game tank units.
Okay. So great points. Yeah, Ezreal he's a very versatile carry. You could slam a ton of early game items on him. This can mean Shiv. This can mean Jewel Gauntlets. This can mean Archangel. So he uses items very easily. Twitch is an enabler for the team, so he helps out everyone, specifically Ezreal with Swift Shot. And then you talked about the front line, Malphite and Jax. Why do you think this is the positioning, right? Because very easily they could be swapped, or even so they could just be like right beside each other. So why do you think I think positioning like this is good?
Malphite starts at full mana, so he instantly casts his shield, which means you're maximizing the value of that, and then Jax can come in after with his, auto attack block.
Yep, correct. So Malphite, like Evergreen said, has full mana at the start of the fight. He doesn't immediately start combat with his shield. He stuns himself at the very start in order to like get his shield up and going. And that shield lasts for 5 seconds. So if you are going to have a unit that shields themselves 100% of the time at the very start, then you want that unit to be hit first, because you have 5 seconds to optimize that shield as best as you can. Meanwhile, Jax, so this guy here, he doesn't use his ability at the very start. He needs to gain mana, right? So you put him right behind. In this hex, he will never get hit first. If you move him to like either one of these, then one of the corner units can hit him first, or even like a melee unit. So putting him here, he'll never be aggroed first. Also here is good. And then he can walk up while Malphite is tanking with a shield, start getting some mana. And then the plan is, once Malphite dies, then Jax hopefully should have enough mana to cast his ability, dodge for another like 2 seconds, stun for another like 1, and you're stalling so much time. So this is optimal positioning. If you swap them both around, then Jax is getting hit first, while Malphite has a shield for 5 seconds, but no one's hitting the Malphite. That's why Malphite is really important to be aggroed first. Okay, great. Thank you, Green. Let's move on to the next one. Bam. Very exciting board. You might see some of this in your games, and a couple things to talk about. So hopefully someone can point out why is this board. Okay, we'll just write very generally. Why is it good? Good question mark. We're gonna talk about okay, front line. We're gonna talk about back line, and what else? Okay, that's good. Does anyone have a quick analysis of this board here? Anything you want to talk about? Okay, not everybody at once, just one person. Haha, funny joke. Anybody?
I mean, it has early lagoons, so you can start stacking for items.
Okay, yeah.
Set and Karma give Dragonmancer, so you can give that either to Set to be more tanky or to Kais to do more damage.
Okay. So this is okay. Is there anything else, sorry?
I don't see any other like traits, so I don't think so.
Yeah, you're right. So this is a board to get early lagoons. So Malphite, Bruiser, Zac, Guardian, they don't work together, but so you're losing combat stats on that. But this is probably not a 5-win streak board. Maybe you win 1 or 2 rounds against like sacking Astral players, but it's mostly to get lagoons in early to get that economy. Hopefully get to 80 stacks, which is your first item component, and then 140 is your second item component. I'm pretty sure. Well, 80 for sure. 140 is not 100%. Like maybe 95% confirmed on that. But putting in Lagoon early means that you can get to 80 a lot earlier and then get that item component, which is really good. This is a good opener to make econ early, and then as Trippy said, you have your front line. Set here is giving Dragonmancer to Kaisa, and the reason why we don't want... I mean, we could use Karma, right? But then Karma is a ranged Dragonmancer, which means that it's 1 less unit in your front line, and yeah, you have more damage, but Kaisa stacks up damage anyway from using her ability repeatedly, so it's actually fine to have Kaisa just having as much frontline as you can with a Kaisa. So that's the point of this board. Really good opener in the sets. Thank you, Chippy. Okay, let's continue. Bam. One of my favorite ones. I don't see a lot of people use this combination. Maybe they just don't see the angle, but let's have someone break it down. Okay.
Jade shapeshifters, poggers.
Okay, Jade shapeshifters.
Uh,
Can you identify where is the damage? Where is the front line?
Damage comes from mostly Nidalee and Gnar and Wukong because Gnar is like a half tank, half damage. Same with Wukong, same with Nidalee. They're all like half damage, half tanks.
Okay,
Especially with
so
shapeshifters, you get a very tanky board.
okay, yeah. So we have bruisers, and they're all doing single target. So this is good early. Bruisers are actually really good early because if you think late game, right? You think like big AP dragons that do AoE, then these guys don't stand a chance, so they get outscaled. But early game, there's no burst really. So bruisers have high DPS, and they are relatively tanky compared to a range carry. So you're 100% right. Jade shapeshifters, they're super good. Just because the units are good, right? So these two, once they transform, they'll get 50% of their maximum health as a bonus, which is really good, especially early. You have the little Jade statue here, and then you have this. Everyone just kind of does damage, right? Like Jax is a great unit. He stalls, dodges, hits, stuns, super good, and very easy to tech in bruiser even on 5, like on level 5. Gnar has a bit of CC, and Gnar's actually pretty good this set. I used to give him a lot of a lot of trouble last set, but he's actually pretty good. You get a good amount of armor and attack damage, and he actually does CC as well. Nidalee is good damage, and then Wukong is also damage. So really good board. Jade shape shifters. Thank you, Swish. Okay, last but not least, I play this board maybe like 6 out of 10 of my games. This one here. What's going on here? Am I griefing? What's going on? Are
Gotta
there?
get money somehow.
Yeah, gotta get money somehow.
Gotta get money.
Okay.
At least you won't be broke.
That's yeah, exactly. Body or Amber, did you want to try taking a shot at this board here? Okay, no worries. I can explain it. So this is a loose streak astral board, and from playing this opener, you will almost already have like 10 gold. You should already have like 10 gold playing this. You just play 3 astrals, and the reason why we side them all together, because I see a lot of people, they do like, okay, Vladimir here, Skarner here, like Nidalee here, but that means that aggro is split. So then Vladimir will be attacking this guy, Skarner is attacking for this guy, and then Nidalee will like be a cat and then run either like left or right. By putting them all in the same area means that hopefully they attack the same unit, because most of the time people do like, okay, one on each side and then like 1 carry, right? Or another very common thing they do is like 1 in the middle, like 2 carries or something like that. So by clumping them together on like one side specifically, this also works on the right, then you can hopefully kill a unit, which is really important, especially in a loose streak comp, right? And a loose streak comp where you're getting a lot of economy, if you're able to econ and save a lot of HP, then you're probably going first, because those two are inversely related, right? HP and gold. I know this is a little off topic, but HP and gold, if you want to save HP, then you roll down, you level using your gold, and you get strong, right? But if you want to make gold, then that means that you won't be rolling down or leveling, and you'll be saving gold, but your board won't be as strong. So that's why being able to kill units with this board is really good. Okay, this was the biggest part of today's lesson. Let's keep going, but this is unit combination and positioning. A TLDR is have a mix of frontline tanks, and you need to have damage. Being able to identify the damage on your board is really important. If you look at your board and be like, I have no damage, then the round's gonna start and you're not gonna kill anything. So you have to be able to formulate a board and clearly identify like, okay, this guy is gonna kill units, this guy is gonna kill units, this guy is going to help this guy kill units, and being able to identify that is will help you make a stronger board. Okay, so a couple final parts here on the units. Playing strong board gives you the best chance to win rounds. Play units that activate traits. There are some cases where this is not the case, so like maybe some traits don't help as often, but a general rule of thumb, play units that activate traits together. 1 or 2 main carry units, right? with frontline and supporting, that's really important. So your 3 are backline, frontline, and supporting, or like tank, damage, and supporting. And then last but not least, play useful units that will kill or help kill. Useful units are units that actually do something onto your board. So sometimes you can't always play a unit that will activate a trait, but that doesn't mean that that is bad, right? So for example, guild. You could throw guild into any comp. You could just level if you're win streaking and then throw in a random Twitch or a random Sejuani. And people think like, oh, it's not even that good, but just think about Sejuani, right? 130 HP. She has base maybe, I don't know, maybe like 650 HP. So you throw her onto the board. She already gets 130 times 2. So then she gets like a bonus 260. And then she gives 130 HP to everyone on your board. And let's say it's like a level 5 board, right? That means you're giving 130 HP to 5 people plus the HP of Sejuani. And she gets a stun. So you might be thinking like, oh, like one guild, or like maybe it's better to put in like a mage or something. That's not always the case. And being able to identify like, oh, this unit is actually good on your board, or like will help my board in somehow, is really important. So if TLDR, once again, if you don't have actual units to put in, so something that like actually activates traits or is supposed to be on your board, just throw in a guild. Guilds will help out everyone and make you stronger. Okay, let's keep going. I spent a lot of time on units, and then we're gonna finish up with items and augments. So items, you want to create the most optimal items that will be effectively used by units. So every unit has a relative BIS, and BIS is best in slot, and that just means their best combination of items on them. So if you're still like not sure on what items should go on who, then there are plenty of resources out there. There is TF Tactics, there's Tactics.tools, there's Mobalytics. I like to use TF Tactics when I'm first learning a set. And then you can figure out like, okay, these items are good on these people. Okay, it says damage items. Okay, that means that this guy's a carry. So first is learn what the BIS of each unit is. Then from there, you're going to be able to make those optimal items for them. So tanks, you want to give them defensive or stall items. Protector's Vow is really good, especially on something like a Hecarim, because that means he only needs one auto attack to cast. Put him in the very front, auto, bam, whole board stunned, very good. Carries, you want to put attack damage AP items on them as usual. Support units, you want to put utility or mana regen. So this is like Banshee's Claw, Zeke's, even a Shojin, right? Because you don't want to be putting Zeke's or Banshee's Claw on your carry, because they're going to get the effect anyway. So you could save that item slot and just put it on a support unit instead. And this last point here is super important. So stacking items on either your damage, tank, or support units are really important. And in the next slide here, we're going to talk about what stacking is. So we're going to have 2 pictures here. Stacking items is pretty good. So the reason why is because stats in TFT are multiplicative, right? They are multiplicative or they synergize with each other. So an example of this. Okay, a synergy would be like a Zeke's plus a Rage Blade. So that means your carry has a Rage Blade, and then they're being buffed by Zeke's. Those synergize with each other. So that's not necessarily stacking. That's a bad example. I'll take it back. Something like Bloodthirster and Titans, right? Titans, once it's fully stacked, it's going to provide damage. It's going to provide a little bit of tank, and it also increases your size. And you might be thinking, oh, Max, but size is just for fun. Actually, it's pretty good for some units. So something like a Pantheon, once they have increased size, that means their shield is bigger. They'll be able to block more and hit more. So Titans is good, but you have to get to that 25 stacks of either being hit or hitting, which means that Bloodthirster comes along and gives you healing and a shield once you drop below a percentage of HP. So stacking items is super important, and they really help your units. They really help enable your units. So that's an example of this. Another example is like Deathblade plus Infinity Edge. This is good in previous sets. Right now, Deathblade is not very good, but like Infinity Edge does damage, critical damage based off of how much attack damage you have. So then Deathblade gives you the attack damage. Infinity Edge is even better because you have a lot of attack damage now, and that's because you stacked those items on the same person. So stacking is really good. If you see the example on the left, this is what's something that you should do. Why do you think? Okay, so I just explained the BT Titans interaction. Why do you think this Nunu is good? Why do you think this Sunfire Warmogs on Nunu is better than the Sunfire on Jax and Warmogs on Nunu?
Because with the Warmogs, he's gonna live longer, which means he'll put out more damage than the Sunfire.
Yeah, exactly. The Warmogs helps him live longer. And not only just putting out damage, but being able to apply Sunfire Cape to many different units just from staying alive longer. So that's the correct answer. So this is why generally you want to do what we did on the left here, stack the items together, and you don't want to do on the right here where you separate the items, right? Because this, like Olaf, he's getting the Titans. Well, without healing, Titans is not as effective. Yone, he has the Bloodthirster, which means he has the healing, but he doesn't have Titans, which means that he's not going to be doing a lot of damage. And then we just talked about the Sunfire Cape and the Warmogs. What is the one scenario where stacking items might not actually be the play and spreading is better?
When you have a enhancement that benefits you from having items like cybernetic uplink or your such and suches that have an item get this, that, or the other thing.
Yes, you're right. So cyber augments. So cybernetic uplink for mana, cybernetic implants for attack damage, or cybernetic shell for armor. In that case, maybe spreading is better, but your general core items still want to be stacked together. So in that case, like let's say we look at this board, right? Let's say we have cybernetic shell. So putting an item on unit will increase their HP and armor. I would still put these two together, the BT and Titans, but maybe I'd put the Sunfire on Jax. Just to spread Cyber, so he will actually get a little bit more, or Jax will actually get a little bit more HP from, well, not only the Sunfire, but from Cyber. His armor is also going to be increased, so he doesn't necessarily need the Warmogs in order to stay alive now. So that would be an example of when spreading is actually better than stacking. But generally, stack your items on, or stack your synergetic items onto the same unit, and they will perform a lot better. Okay, so that's items. The last part of playing a strong board, or you're playing your strongest board, is maximizing augment value. So just a one slide here. Basically, just choose augments that synergize with your board and are guaranteed to increase your board strength now or in the future. So if you're win streaking, you want to choose a combat augment to make your board better or stronger, like in the combat aspect. So that way you can keep winning rounds and make as much money as you can from your streak. If you have a weak stage 2 opener, then you might want to choose an economic augment instead. Economic augments are always good as a first choice, even if you have a strong board. So for example, if you're given rich get richer, right, and you have a strong board, then it's debatable if your combat augments presented are not exactly ideal. Like maybe like a Ludens, and you're playing like an 80 comp, then you're like, well, I could either reroll my first one, which is not that great of an idea, or I'll just take the rich get richer. So you don't necessarily need a weak stage 2 opener to choose an economic augment. You can still choose it even if you're a strong board, especially trade sector. I think trade sector is always good, but for sure, if you have a weak opener, then choose an economic augment. Make as much money as you can, and hopefully get 50 gold going into Krugs. Okay, and that wraps it up. So this was a masterclass on how to play your strongest board, what is part of a strongest board. So we talked about units, items, and augments, talked about optimizing them, and now hopefully in your games you have a better idea of how to construct a strong board by positioning your units in frontline, backline, make sure that you're stacking items on units, making items that synergize and are multiplicative with each other, and augments that help your board based off of what you have. So that has been the lesson. If anyone has any questions now, this would be the time we could go back into any slide that you want. You can have any other questions about anything. Here we go.
Do you have any advice on transitioning into late game boards? Just because I feel like so often I'll be like mid to late, and I'll like start putting in units from a different like to transition my comp, and it'll actually just make my board weaker.
Okay. Evergreen, were you here for the mid to late game transition masterclass? Or
I don't
the
think so.
okay, how about the early game itemization transition to late game?
I was here for the early game itemization.
Okay, so I'll just quickly summarize both of them. So your question is, oh, like, do you have any tips for transitioning late game? Sometimes I feel like I get weaker. Okay, so number one is have a good plan, right? Yeah, you want to have a plan. Always have a general plan. Early game, okay, even going into the game, this can mean like, okay, I'm flexing between a couple AD and a couple AP comps. So going into the game, right? You check like Mirage. Okay, Mirage is not Electrocharge, or what was the other bad one? Pirate. Pirate's not bad, it's just not combat, which means that you can't play Deja. So let's say it's an actual good one. Let's say like Warlord, right? Okay, all right. Well, right off the bat, AP Deja is playable. Okay, another AP comp. Okay, it's also Mage Nomsy. Even better, we have 2 AP available options. This means that early game we could slam Archangels, Jewel Gauntlet, not Shojin. Shojin's not good. I did that in tournament and it went 8th. And then that's good for AP. And then on the AD side, you always have Xayah, you have Graves, you have... Mine's going blank. Oh, Olaf. So those are some options. So first off, going into the game, you need to have a general plan that can influence your early slammable items. Then your transition timings, well, even going into stage 4, you can start picking up units that you think you are going to be playing and putting them and just like keeping them on your bench, right? So if you're looking to play like Deja, well, you should hopefully be at 50 gold in stage 3, because your transition timings are either going to be 4-1, 4-2, or 4-5. These are your general transition timings. So then if you're looking to play like Deja, right? You have like a dual JGIE, then it's like, okay, just start picking out like Sejas, Nunus. You just like carry your transition board on your bench. So then when the time comes to transition, which is most likely going to be probably on 4-1, level 7 for Deja, because you just need to roll, hit 1 Deja, that's stabilized, play 6 Mirage, and then you're chilling to level 8, unless you need to keep rolling. That's your transition time. So you want to prep your board with an idea of what you might be playing going into your transition stage. So then when you're actually transitioning, you just sell your board first, and then play whatever units you have on your bench, and then you could roll for the rest of them. So that is what tip I have for transitioning to late game is, number one, have a good plan going in with a couple AP, a couple AD comps. Most likely it'll just gonna be the best meta ones. And then while you're playing the game, see what items you have and what direction you're gonna be taking. By 3-2, your second augment, you should have an idea of whether or not you're playing AD or AP. And then from there, it branches off into like, I don't know, like Mirage, or you go from there, and then from 80 it branches off into like Xayah, Graves, based off of whether or not you have like, oh, Rageblade or like Last Whisper, something like that. But after 3-2, you should have an idea about AD and AP. So then it narrows down even more. The further you go into your game, the better idea you should have of what you're playing late game. If that makes sense.
I feel like specifically, I don't know, specifically with Xayah, because this comp you can roll like and hit all the units late game. Like I'll put in I'll full transition, and then I'll end up playing like Shyvana 1 or like a 2-star dragon like Eidos or Zippy, and I'll just be weaker because of that. So I have trouble like judging what's stronger than.
Okay, so it sounds less of a like transition problem, more of a when is it stronger, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when is it stronger? You just need to just take this point, like this point, and then just analyze and identify. So look at your current damage carry and be like, okay, this is gonna sound really nerdy, but I'm also like in a pretty nerdy degree. Okay,
Yeah,
try to
so-
calculate try to calculate like the average DPS of that unit, right? So let's say you are looking to play Xayah, and right now your carry is like a Ezreal 2. It has like Rage Blade, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you just like envision him attacking and using his ability. Take into consideration whether or not you have Tempest, your Augment. Be like, okay, so it's gonna be killing, or it's gonna be doing like X amount of damage. I don't know the actual number. In the fight, and then you pick up like a Xayah in shop, right? You think like, okay, if I swap now, you can even just like swap it, not sell, just swap it, and look at how the board looks like. Be like, okay, Xayah's in now. I'm seeing if I'm trying to analyze if it's stronger or not. Okay, are the traits enabled? Is the unit enabled? So look at the traits. Do we have Rage Wings in? No, we don't. Oh, but we have Swift Shot in. Okay, so now we're comparing. Okay, we don't have Rage Wing in for Xayah, but we have Swift Shots. When we play Ezreal, we also have Swift Shots, and we don't have Tempest. So this is the type of like analysis you should do. And then once most of the time with like, okay, I'll write this down. Most of the time with like 4 cost carries, 4 cost carries, they need, that's not how you spell it. They need to be trait activated. So if you think of Xayah, you need Rage Blade and Swift Shot in order for her to be good, unless you have like built different. If you play Graves, you need Cannoneer, or else he's just gonna be like shooting his water gun just for fun. So that's the thing with 4 cost carries. 2 cost carries, or even like 1 cost, don't necessarily need to be always enabled, right? Like it helps, but like for example, if you're playing Ezreal, you don't need Tempest to play Ezreal. Just have a Swift Shot with him. Or if you're playing, I guess she only has 1 combat. If you're playing, I'm trying to think. Okay, like Olaf, early game, you don't need scale scoring. As long as you have warrior, that's fine. But 4 cost carries, generally they need to be enabled, especially dragons as well. Dragons 100% need to be enabled. If you're playing Deja with 3 Mirage, like mid game, you're not gonna do anything. If you're playing, okay, Alshin gives himself Tempest, that's fine. Or like Aurelion Soul without Evoker. So to answer your question, and like really quickly, number 1, have plan. Number 2, hold units to help you transition. Number 3, okay, transition. And from the spot, the timing will revolve around whether or not you have the supporting units of your carry. That will be like the determining factor. When you are going to transition, if you don't have the supporting units for your carry, then it is most likely weaker. Also, final things like a 2-star 1 cost is better than like a 1-star 2 cost. A 2-star 3 cost is better than like a 1-star 4 cost. So although the cost might be higher, if it's not 2-starred, then you should probably just stick with your main carry as well. Sorry, that was like a full like 5-minute elaborated answer, but hopefully you have a better idea of when to transition and like what to think about.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, this is kind of another thing, but I think I have less time than I actually do, so I like sell a bunch of units and put things in before actually thinking about it.
Just
and
try to
analyzing whether or not it's stronger.
if that happens, just try to transition on a 4-7 or 4-2, because this is augment timing, right? So then you're gonna have, I think,
have so much more time,
like 48 seconds or whatever, and then this is
Especially
treasure
after
dragon.
Treasure Dragon.
Yeah. So then this is basically like ×2 of a round. So if you're like rushing too much, try to wait until one of these times. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions before we finish off here? Anything at all? It could be.
Record these so that we could watch them later.
Yeah. So if you're part of the gym, actually I lied. All TFT videos should be uploaded on the C9TG YouTube.
Okay.
Even past ones. I was on there just watching it just for fun, and also just for fun. And then there's TFT videos from like even like this May. So I highly recommend you check it out. I will try to find a link.
Yeah, because normally scrims run a little late, so I get here a little late.
Yeah, all good. I'm gonna send the link in the chat. So go subscribe, support your local organization, I guess. And then from there, you can just search out like TFT or just like look at all the videos, and you're gonna have a ton of different things that you could choose from. Yeah. Yes. So you can rewatch them, and they will help you out. Wait. Anything else before, or just anything else? Any questions about like tournaments or esports or
How did you do?
meta? Oh, so I got day one, and I think I came 101st out of 128 players, which is actually not that great.